Okay, welcome everyone to the second day of the campaign speeches for competing club elections. Today, we're going to start off with, we're going to have 3 candidates in total, and we're going to start off with Kukum. So Kukum, could you share your screen with us?
Sure thing. Can you guys see? Hello?
Yes. Wait, I cannot see. It's like a blank slide. Is that
yes,
correct?
it is a plain slide.
Okay.
To start.
Okay. You have 15 minutes. Yep. Let's start.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I really hope that we don't disappoint. So let's cut straight to the point. So what's the first thing that you may have in your mind when you see me? Who is this dude? Yes, who is this dude? This is also the first question that I would like to propose for our following discussions in the next 10 to 15 minutes. So who am I? Hello, my name is Kukum, and I'm a Year 1 CS and BBA student. So basically, I'm taking double degree program. Yes, it is going to be tiring, but I believe at the end of the day, it's going to be fruitful and fulfilling. And I like to gym, cook, and travel. Sorry?
Wait, give me a second.
May I continue?
Please carry on. Yeah.
All right. So I was from Nanyang JC, and I was from the council there. I have to admit that I really have too many good things to say about the memorable experiences as well as the friends that I have made there. And that was also the main reason that I'm running for this election. So let's talk more about my hobbies. Firstly is gymming. Yeah, I like to work out a lot. And one particular thing that I love gymming is the feeling of soreness and the pain the day after the workout. As weird as it may sound, it actually gives me a clear indication that I'm actually constantly improving myself and my efforts didn't really go to waste. And that's why I love gymming so much. Next, I love to cook. And as you can see from the pictures, I actually can cook for quite a number of recipes, and the list is definitely not exhaustive. And just to share with you one fun fact about the cooking habit that I have. Actually, I had no prior experience in cooking before the CB period. I only picked it up during the period, and I explored the fun in it. And after phase 2 started, I actually invited over batches of my friends to my place to test out my food. So if you are as daring as my friend, you're always free to hit me up and arrange a food tasting session with me. Last but not least, I love to travel, not only to places with beautiful scenery, but also to places with rich cultural heritage. It is because I believe only with this, we can really touch on the lives of the people living there and know more about the legacies left behind by their ancestors. And I believe this is also the thing that makes traveling so interesting and appealing to everyone. It is a power that the travel enables you to connect with the people there, as well as to allow you to live a life that you have never imagined and to come across people that you have never met. So after that, so what am I running for? I'm actually running for the Vice President of Student Life. Now you may have even more questions. Why Student Life and why Vice President? So allow me to go through these questions one by one with you. So why Student Life first? It is because I'm a person who is really passionate about making friends and connecting with people, also to make a positive change to their lives. And I believe Student Life, out of all the 4 wings, have the most opportunities for me to actually meet, bond, and impact other people. And why Vice President? Okay, that was because even though I had relevant leadership experiences and have been the overall IC for numerous school activities, I still feel being a Vice President entails many learning opportunities for me. Because being a Vice President doesn't only entail the responsibility of ensuring smooth running of every single event. It also entails the responsibility of you taking care of every member under you. I have learned from past experiences and, sadly to say, mistakes on what it may take to become a respectable leader. And I really hope that I can be given a chance to continue this learning journey together with you. So to sum it up, the reason why I want to run for the Vice President of Student Life was because that I want to actually warm the cockles to your heart and make a positive change. And so what past experiences do I have that make me a suitable candidate for the role that I want to run for? As I have mentioned, I was from Nanyang Junior College and the student council there. And here are just a few events that I would like to highlight to you, of which the experience I think may be relevant and even helpful in the future event planning processes. To start off, let's talk about Sando. It's a 2-day leadership training program, specially designed for secondary students with leadership potential. As you can see from the picture on the top left corner, there were actually 100 over and close to 200 participants. And the experience comes with organizing such a large-scale event may be super helpful in the future event planning processes. As we all know, School of Computing actually has a large school population. And for this special group of target audience, we actually organized and designed a wide variety of events, ranging from technical lessons to interactive workshops, as well as fun and engaging games. And this experience of designing and crafting this wide range of variety of events may also give me the advantage of improving and enhancing the experience of the participants for our future events. That's about Ascendo. Let's move on to talk about orientation and Friendship Day. For orientation, I believe it's something that every one of us have been through at least some point in time. But I believe the experience of organizing, facilitating, as well as participating in it as a whole comes with special significance, especially to all of us here this year. As you know, all of the year one elects, actually we didn't get to experience the full FOP this year due to the COVID situation. And this may pose challenges to the future event planning processes for the next year's FOP. And with my experience, I may be able to foresee the possible pitfalls and avoid them, also to make changes to the old plans that we had to enhance the experience for the participants as well. And that's about orientation. Let's talk about Friendship Day. So Friendship Day is actually one of the school events that is dedicated to commemorate friendship. And it's a school-wide event that actually involves numerous CCAs, including this club as well as classical. So actually we have a lot of communication sessions as well as collaboration to facilitate the process and make sure the transition between activities is smooth for the participants. So this experience and the skill of communication as well as collaboration may come in very handy if we are organizing events that involves external parties or involves the students from other faculties. Yeah, that's about my experience that I would like to highlight to you. And let's talk more about my strength. And to talk about that, I would like to bring you back to the hobbies that I have mentioned to you, namely gymming, cooking, as well as traveling. It is because I believe these three things are something more than just hobbies to me. They actually teach me a meaningful lesson or actually help me develop a special quality that may be relevant to the role of Vice President of Student Life. So to begin with, gymming and workout. Everyone knows that it's very tiring. Yes, it is tiring, and it definitely requires some self-discipline and determination to carry out the task every session. Because the key to seeing the result of the workout is the consistency. It's not about how much effort you put into one session, it's actually about how much effort you put into going to session on a regular basis. we all can foresee that the journey ahead wouldn't be an easy one in such a try time. It definitely requires some level of self-determination as well as discipline. And I believe gymming has taught me that. Next, let's move our attention to the right side of the screen. It's actually a photo taken when I invited over my friends for the food tasting session. So actually cooking is something more than just something that I enjoy. It is also something that I took as an opportunity and a bridge to reconnect with the friends that I had not met in a long time. And this power and quality of connecting and reconnecting with people, I think is of paramount significance, especially to the role of student life vice president. Because the responsibility of VPSL is actually to improve the well-being of students and to connect with people. Last but not least, I would like also to mention about traveling. And I also like to travel alone. So I actually have to make out the plans down to the very minor details so that I make sure that I don't get lost in the middle of nowhere overseas. But having said that, it doesn't mean that I don't leave room for improvisation. I adapt to changes quickly also. One example is that last time when I traveled to Taiwan, I actually planned to visit the zoo. And the zoo was closed without prior notice. And what I did was to take out my phone and check the area. And I realized there was actually a U-turn near the area. And I decided to visit the place, and the scenery there was really very nice. And just to mention that it was actually not on my initial plan to visit the U-turn. So, and this ability of planning everything thoroughly as well as carefully, and the ability to adapt to changes fast, I believe it will be very useful in the future event planning processes, because we cannot assume every event is a smooth sailing one. And in fact, none of the events are. Lastly, I want to talk to you more about what I want to achieve for both the School of Computing as well as for myself. Firstly, for School of Computing, actually I have this idea of initiative in mind to promote cross-disciplinary interactions among students. As you know, I'm a DDP student, and I realized that it's actually a trend nowadays for students to take up a second degree, major or minor. So I thought to myself, hey, why not just have a program that gets students together from different faculties and get them to meet, interact, bond, and learn with each other. So I visualize this event to be an event-based activity, just like orientation camp. And we want to achieve the objective through fun and engaging activities. And one element I would like to highlight to you is actually the double system. So we pair up the students from different faculties, but taking the modules of the same course of study. And we also would like to introduce the elements, they will be set up to compete against other pairs of buddies. And we will introduce elements whereby the students are encouraged to tap on the knowledge as well as the skills they obtain from their own course of study. For example, as SOC students ourselves, our problem-solving skills as well as analytical skills. And for business students, the communication skill that may be crucial to their own course of study. Last but not least, I want to talk about what I want to achieve for myself. It's very simple, just 3 points. Firstly, to learn and grow to become a better person. And secondly, to make many, many, many friends. As I said, I really enjoy doing that. And last but not least, I want to try my best not to SU any of the modules, because the great lecturer of CS1231S, Mr. Aaron, has told us that I can do it. Last but not least, I would like also to say something similar to what Mr. Aaron has told us, that you can actually vote for me. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Gugong, for that speech. Could you now start the timer? We'll have 15 minutes for question and answer for Gugong.
Sure.
We have one question from Sam. Sam, you want to introduce yourself?
All right. Hello, Gugong. I'm Sam, Year 2 Computer Engineering. Thank you for your presentation. I like your personality as well. So I wanted to ask about the cross-disciplinary pairing,
Yes.
the initiative that you proposed, right? I think it's a good idea. Do you have a framework in mind to pair people? Like I know you said like one of the base requirements is the modules and stuff, right? But is there any way you ensure, like, will you check on them, like a midway check-in, maybe in between the semester and all that, just to make sure they're doing okay? Is there any framework that you have in mind?
Okay, thank you for your question first. So just to make sure that I understand your question, you are actually asking if I have any framework in mind to actually group up people and make sure that they have a long-lasting relationship.
Correct.
Okay, so firstly, the first point to this question is if I have a framework to group up people. And I think it really dependent on the number of participants and the nature of the group that we have. Because last time we have mentioned, actually the nature of the School of Computing students, the population is that sometimes they are reluctant to participate in activities. So we might have relatively fewer participants from SOC. And as you can see, the nature of this program is actually multidisciplinary, meaning that we do not only recruit people from SOC, but other faculties as well. So we can actually make changes to the buddy system to make it triple buddy. And this system, we have to actually gather the information of the participants first to see what courses they are from first. That's why, and only after that can we start to pairing them up. If not, we cannot make sure that they're actually from different faculties and they are actually taking modules of the same courses of studies. This is the first point to your question. And second point, how do we make sure they have long-lasting relationship? I think this is largely dependent on the individual cases. And I cannot say for sure if they will have a long-lasting and meaningful experiences or not. But what I can guarantee you is that they can actually benefit from this event by actually studying from each other, since they are taking actually module from each other. For example, if a business students are taking computing module, the idea of computing can seem daunting at the first step, as all of us have experienced that. And we can actually smooth this transition period. Same applies to other cases, vice versa. Other than that, the second point to this is also that they can actually provide a different perspective for people. As you know, the SOC people are generally more task-oriented, and they are very analytical and focused on the problem solving itself. However, the students from business side, they may focus more on the people side, and they actually, the people skills that they have, the communication skills they acquire, is actually a large part of their degree requirements. And they can actually provide a different perspective to each other. And I think that's what actually matters the most and about this program. Do I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you, Google.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you, Google, for answering that question. We have another question from Chuntek. Chuntek, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, Google. I'm Chuntek, Year 3 Information Systems. So, given that the Vice President of Student Life oversees FOP, what are your objectives and vision for the upcoming FOP?
Is that all your question?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your question, Chuntek. So basically my vision and mission for the upcoming FOP, actually it has to divide into two cases. We have to study it by case. So firstly, the first case is that everything turns better and we can actually go back to the norm. And then our priority is actually to bring back the lively FOP experience that every single batch of SOC freshies should have enjoyed. Unlike us, because we are the special batch that experienced a difficult time. And a lot of things have to be in place to ensure that, because we really lack the full experience of FOP this year. But I really also believe that my experience in so many orientation experiences, as well as the organization of itself, will provide me the guidance as well as the experience in that. So that's about the first case, when everything turns better and we go back to the norm. The second case is about the situation continues like this, and we are not able to have any offline physical camps. Then our vision and mission is actually to improve on the plans that we have this year, because the changes come actually very quickly, and I know that the 22nd MC has tried their best, but there is still room for improvement for definitely. For example, the events that we have planned and the activities that we have tried out, actually, we were not sure if they will turn out well as expected or not. So based on the experience that we have this year, we are going to actually improve on that and try to have to give the freshies next year experience, FOP experience as good as possible. Yes, and I believe that's my answer to your question.
I think to add on is to really find out more about what kind of FOP experience you want to provide to your freshmen. So what kind of like concrete objectives are you looking at? So like everyone to have cross-disciplinary cross major interactions and stuff like that. Yeah.
Chuntek, was that a question? Or?
Just to clarify on whether what are his like exact objectives for FOP.
So you want me to clarify again? Am I right?
For example, one objective could be like for every like at least 50 or 60% of the incoming freshmen to experience at least a FOP, something like that. Yeah, so more like directed and concrete objectives.
Do you want him to clarify his objectives, Chuntek, or are you stating a fact?
Clarify, yeah.
So you want me to clarify, or you are clarifying yourself? I'm a bit confused, sorry.
I think you didn't really like answer about what are your concrete objectives for FOP this year. So I'm just trying to find out more like what do you want for the incoming freshmen to experience next year for FOP.
Yeah, I can try to improve on my answer. So thank you for clarification. And as for the concrete objective that you have mentioned just now, I really can't give any to you for now because we really don't know how the situation will go, either go up or go down. We really don't know about that. So we can't guarantee for sure what my concrete objective is. But I do want to mention that the objective that I want to have is actually firstly to let every freshies to have a smooth transition into their uni life, because you know uni is a very different system than the poly or the JC that they had. And as freshmen ourselves, I believe all of us have been through this confusion period where we are just as clueless and blur. And yeah, so the first objective is to smoothen this transition. Secondly, is to provide them with a fun and engaging experience, to allow them to make friends. Of course, because uni, you mostly are on your own, and who can help you is all about your friends. So I really hope that people can make a lot of friends and whose friendship that can maybe last them for a lifetime, hopefully. Yeah, that's what my objective will be. Would that be a better answer to your question?
Yeah, that's one info. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Before we move on to the remaining questions, I'd just like to clarify to the audience that if there is a need to close the question and answer, someone has to propose and someone has to second the closure. And if there's a need to extend, then someone has to propose the extension and someone has to second the extension. Right now, it seems that we have questions from 4 people. Vinod, what is your question? Can you introduce yourself?
Okay, hi, I'm Vinod. Year 2 Business Analytics. Okay, Gukeng, I've got a question for you regarding the initiative to promote cross-disciplinary interaction. Okay,
yes.
So when you talk about how you're going to pair 2 people up from 2 different faculties, for example, a business student as well as an SOC student, based on a common module such as a business mod. The business student may seem more of a giver, whereas the SOC student may be seen as more of a taker. So how do you ensure that both parties actually see value in this relationship and actually incentivize the person who's like a giver to actually come down and join and take part in this activity?
Okay, thank you for your question. And I think that's a really great one. Just to clarify, in case that I wasn't clear in my presentation just now, actually I mentioned that I want to pair up the students from 2 different faculties, but with same courses of studies, being that a business student may be taking a computing module and a computing student that is taking a business module, and we put them together. It's not only a business student taking computing module and a computing student alone. So actually they will benefit from this relationship. And more importantly, other than the academic aspect, I believe it is a perspective that I have mentioned. It's all about perspectives. And I believe different faculties have their own kinds of perspective into things. And I really think that will be really helpful, not only academic-wise, but also in the sense of life. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
No problem, thank you.
All right, let's move on to the next question from Sumin. Sumin, are you there?
Yeah, hi Kukong, I'm
Hello.
Sumin, year 2 CS student. So my question to you is, since you're running for Vice President of Student Life, and as a Vice President of Student Life, you need to be quite familiarized with like the format of the physical camps, BASH and REC, and all these events that you didn't get to experience this year. So I foresee that you will see some challenges coming your way if you're like planning for these events in the future. So, so do you have any plan in mind to like go about like planning for these ideas with this in mind? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your question. I think that's a really relevant and practical question to ask. So firstly, I think there are a few lines of defense in this sense to me. Firstly, actually, I can always refer to the document archive to study actually the format and the plans of the different various events that I didn't get to experience. Secondly, I can always link back to the advisors as well as people like you who are actually the student, vice president of student life for advice. And I really think this advice is more helpful and useful in the sense that it actually comes from first-hand experience, and it will be more relevant in the real-life context than the just hard copies on the documents. And these are the first 2 lines of defense. Then lastly, it's also about my personal capabilities of organizing such events and adapt to the changes fast. Because I believe none of the events will be smooth sailing. Every batch of students will actually face different kind of obstacles as well as difficulties. And it's really about how the leadership decided to tackle them as well as change to them and turn the challenges into opportunities. Does that answer your question?
Could you elaborate more on the turning the challenges to opportunities part?
All right. So yesterday, as I remember one of the candidates, I think is Yap Ben has mentioned. For example, in these trying times, actually we have possibly a better turn-up rate for the FOP because there is actually a lower barrier for participation than the past years because people have to make the effort to travel to school and they have to stay up late for the camp. But now, no, it's all online and people actually have the easy access to internet as well as computer. And they can easily just participate in the events without much of the challenges they may have faced if it's a physical camp. And it's just one of the examples of how we can make use of the systems and the changes to the rules that we are having now. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yaban, year 2 com science motion to extend the Q&A.
Do we have a second?
Year 1 business analytics seconded.
In that case, Google, can you reset your timer for 15 minutes? Our next question is from Sherman. Sherman, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, Sherman, Year 3 Information Systems. Thank you for the speech. I've got some questions, namely just 2, but I'll just present it one at a time so it's easy for you to remember. First one will be, you have covered, I'm just going to talk about this cross-faculty idea that you've been proposing.
All right.
One of the issues that, one of the things, or one of the common statistics that you'll find is that as students that progress throughout from year 1 to year 4, you will find that a number of them actually start to drop their majors, minors, what have they been. So you may be coming right into a problem where your target audience by and large would be the year 1, year 2 students. So in relation to that, like what plans do you have for the more senior students that are currently at SOC?
All right, thank you for your question. And firstly, I would like to address a problem by going through a timeline with you. So every senior has to be a junior before they become a senior. So actually everyone get an experience or the chance to experience the program. This is the first thing. So, and the seniors may have their own commitments like internship or work related programs. So they may not, they also may not be so free to join up the program. And it is true that you bring up the valid point that it may cater to more of the junior students in university, but I don't see anything wrong from that, because every single one of the uni students actually had an experience to participate in the program itself.
I'm sorry, I just want to stop you there. I just want to clarify that I'm not saying that you're inherently biased against the more senior students anyway. I was just asking that if you have, maybe you have not shown it in your presentation, but if you have any initiatives or general plans you have for the more senior students.
For the more senior.
Yeah. I'm not saying that your plan is bad in any way. I'm just asking if you have any ideas for the more senior students, because this plan does cater more towards the junior students.
Actually, it depends on what senior students think, because some people may only decide to take a second major or minor later on in their years of study, because they realize, oh, actually, this minor or this major actually add value into the course I'm studying now, and they may actually just join the program. And it's really largely dependent on their individual preference, and we really can't force that onto them. And in the sense, if I have anything special for them, I would say no, because it's actually a program open for everyone in the school. And I don't see how the program will work out if we are actually going to divide them into junior division and as well as the senior division. Then it will actually create the segregation between the students. Actually, if without this segregation, we can actually have, like, for example, year 3 business students and year 2 computing students together as a body, and year 3 student may even give more relevant guidance to the year 2 students who are more junior and less familiar with the workplace rules as well as experience. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. My question was never really about segregation. More, it's like how do we bring the senior students into the fold? But I think your answer satisfies my question. Another question I would have is that as someone who is as an international student yourself, you've technically fit the international student category despite the fact that you've been here in Singapore for a while. So I was about to ask if you have any interest in trying to accommodate the international student community body as well, aside from whatever you have mentioned.
Sorry, would you say that again?
Sorry. I'll just simplify my question. Yes. Aside from what you have mentioned, what plans do you have to integrate or to help the international student community in SOC to get closer with the rest of the students?
Okay, actually, thank you for your question first. I actually think through that question quite a lot, and I actually wanted to put out one of the initiatives on my plans as well. But later, deeper into my thoughts, actually I realized that there are many challenges faced by this. As yesterday I have mentioned, international students, especially those international students in large groups like those people from China, they actually have the tendency to form smaller groups within them. And actually I have this WeChat group that is solely consists of all the Chinese students and no one else. So actually they come in large groups, so they can actually form their groups among themselves already. And I'm actually a different case because I have been here for quite long, and I actually assimilate quite well into the local cultures as well as the community. So I have common sense of belonging as the rest of you guys, but for them, not really. And I cannot speak for all of them, but most of them, I believe they don't have this sense of belonging. And this sense of belonging is the key actually to assimilate them into the local community as well as the school or computing population as a whole. And that is something that we really cannot solve, and we don't really have handle to solve the problem. It really comes come from within if the student want to try their best to assimilate into the community. Because to them, they may just like to stick with themselves. It's like they like apples, but we like banana. We want them to be part of us, but that's not what they want. Yes, and we cannot force what we want onto what they want. And I think this is one of the limitations that we have to deal with, like in the program.
I'm sorry, if I'm understanding correctly, you're saying that it is not possible, therefore it shouldn't be done?
I'm saying that it is challenging, and I'm not saying that it cannot be done. It could be done, but it has to come with certain conditions as well as matured developments among the students themselves. And it's not coming from us. It's just like gratitude. The gratitude actually comes from within. It doesn't come from anyone else. Something like that. Because okay, let me elaborate a bit more. It actually largely depends on their own personal experience of how they recognize Singapore to them. Because to me, if you ask what is Singapore like to me, I will say it's just like China and Singapore is like my parents. It's not comparable. It's not, it cannot be compared. And to them, Singapore, it may just be a place to pursue their further education. And it may not be somewhere they have the sense of belonging to. So as I said, it's really a challenging project and program. If we really want to do this, one of the ideas I may suggest is to actually have more of the international students themselves within the group and the program, and less of the local students that are willing to make interactions with those international students. And this way, they are actually the majority of the program, and they feel comfortable because it's their comfort zone and their security area. They feel secured. And those Singaporeans who are actually willing to know more about the international students can be the bridges between them as well as the rest of the population. And we have to do a long and smooth transition in this sense. And it's not a one-time effort.
Okay, yeah. I think that answers my question. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sherman, for the question. We have one more question from Xiaoting. Xiaoting, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hello, I'm Xiaoting, year one computer science student. So, Google, you mentioned that the Chinese are not willing to assimilate into the community, right? But what about the other international students? What about those that come from the other countries? Since international students doesn't just come from China alone, so how do you know that they don't want to make friends with the locals? And also, like, what are your plans for these international students?
Okay, thank you, Xiaoting. I think you bring out a very valid point. But first thing first, I would like to clarify that I didn't say they are not willing, or at least not all of them are willing. I'm just saying that most of them have the tendency of being not willing to participate in the program. There is a subtle difference. So just allow me to clarify this first. And secondly, to your question, yes, Chinese students cannot represent all the international students as a whole, but you cannot deny the fact that there are actually a large proportion of all the international students. It can take up to 50 or even 60% of the international student population. And that's a fact that you have to deal with. And if that 60% that we cannot engage, then it's not fair to just engage the rest of the 40% as well. So as I have mentioned, as I have just talked to Sherman about just now, actually we can have this smooth transition period where actually we have more of the international students, not only from China, but as well other countries as well. And we engage other of the Singaporean locals who are willing to explore more about international students and their cultures. And they will serve as a bridge for them to assimilate into the local community, as well as to slowly develop a sense of belonging. Because if you think about sense of belonging, it's really about where your loved ones are and how you find this place to you. Is it like home or just a place to study? Does that answer your question?
I think you didn't answer the part where I asked you what are your plans for the international students. So like what do you exactly plan to do for these international students who are willing to come for the events and really to make friends with the locals?
Okay, so to talk about that, we have to talk about the existing program that we have under the wing of student life. We actually have this program, as you have mentioned yesterday as well, to engage international students through anonymous communication system. But the turnout rate at the final dinner is not good enough. And actually, that's why I suggested that idea of having international students as a larger body and Singaporean students as a bridge, that idea to the program, actually to improve on that program. So that is actually a prerequisite to actually carrying out any other programs that actively and meaningfully engage the rest of the international students, because we really have to have the sense of belonging as well as just a sense of belonging to the community itself first. That's a prerequisite to any of the things happening next.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Xiaoping, for the question. If there are any other questions, now is a good time to ask them. If we don't have any other questions in the next 20 seconds, can someone propose to close the question and answer?
Yushan, Year 1 Business Analytics, proposed to close the Q&A.
Yoke, Year 1 Business Analytics, seconded.
Okay, with that, we close our question and answer for Kukeng. Thank you, Kukeng.
Thank you.
With that, we'll be moving on to Yoke Ye's presentation.
Yep. Yeah. Let me.
Yeah, please share your screen. Yeah.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay.
You can start.
Hi everyone. Very good evening. Thank you for coming down to listen to the speech over Zoom. My name is Yoke Yue. I'm a Year 1 Business Analytics student this year, and I'm running for the role of Vice President of Internal Relations. So, as a principle of life, I believe that if I want something to be done differently, then I have to step up and do it. That is why I intend to run for the role of Vice President. I'm strongly passionate about caring for your well-being, and I believe that I have the qualities and experience to qualify for the role of Vice President. Now, I will briefly touch on my past experiences. So previously, I was chosen by my peers to be the civics group leader. As the CGL, I was the bridge between the tutors and my peers. I regularly looked out for the welfare of my peers and did my best to make sure that no one was left behind, be it academically or for events. I also organized multiple class outings to foster class spirit, and towards examinations, I organized study sessions. Next up, I was a data ops exec at Shiseido Travel Retail. So in my time there, I was mentored by a business performance manager who led a team of business analysts. Under his wing, I learned important soft skills such as time management and conflict resolution. Initially, I was carrying out simple data validation tasks, after which I was in charge of training other departments in the use of SAP, which was a newly implemented system. Furthermore, when COVID-19 struck in December, I took up the role of assessing the commercial impact that the virus would have on the business. My time in Shiseido gave me an insight into how an organization works and the importance of effective communication between the different departments. Next, I was hired as an RPA developer at Inland Revenue Authority of Singapore, where I oversaw my own project. Being a project lead, I had the opportunity to develop my interpersonal skills as well as improve my accountability. My objective was to develop a robot which would automate the assignment of tax mails to the respective tax officers daily. As this process was being done by support staff manually previously, I believe that I had helped to better improve the efficiency of these staff as they had more time to work on their other tasks now. I managed to deliver the project ahead of schedule, and I was also asked to extend my contract in order to coach 2 SUTD interns who had just joined IRAS. Overall, I believe that my experience at IRAS has greatly improved my leadership skills as well as my interpersonal skills. I mentioned that I am strongly passionate about caring for your well-being. Well, this is also because I am a regular volunteer at Meet the People sessions at Kebun Baru. I am simply passionate about looking after people's well-being and needs. Every Tuesday evening, I will sit down with residents one-to-one and listen to their concerns. After assessing their concerns, I will either give them advice or help them to write a letter to the various ministries regarding their concern. In addition to that, I will help them to link up with the MP of Kebun Baru SMC, Mr. Henry Quek, should they find the need to speak with him. Through my experiences as a writer there, I have managed to better develop myself as a good listener, as well as to be empathetic about other people's concerns. Not only that, I also find myself being able to interact with strangers more effectively and confidently. Compiling all my experiences together, the top 5 qualities that I am proud to have would be, firstly, leadership. From my time as a CG leader and project lead at IRAS, I had the opportunity to develop my leadership skills and leadership style. Secondly, I believe that I have good listening skills. This comes from volunteering at the weekly MPS sessions. Thirdly, I believe that I am empathetic. I may not have personally experienced the same difficulties as others, but I can understand and feel what they are feeling. Fourthly, I am self-driven. As a project lead, I had the project to deliver. I was able to motivate myself and my team, which allowed us to complete it before the deadline. Last but not least, interpersonal skills. Having worked at organizations such as Shiseido and IRAS, I understand the need to communicate effectively between different departments. Hence, I believe that my experiences will benefit me if I am elected into the 23rd Management Committee. If I am given the honor of being elected as Vice President for Internal Relations, these are some of the objectives that I have in mind. Firstly, I would like to promote mental well-being. Mental well-being is about your thoughts and feelings and how you could cope with the ups and downs of everyday life. I get it. Being a university student is tough. On top of that, being a university student in SOC, say no more. There may be students who just want someone to talk to in a safe and private space regarding their goals and concerns. Sure, there's already the University Counseling Service in NUS. However, some people may feel that they prefer speaking to either their peers or somebody their own age. That is why, that way, he or she is more likely to find someone who can empathize with what he or she is going through. That is also why I would like to propose that the management committee link up with the University Health Centre's health professionals in order to receive appropriate training such that they may conduct para-counseling if the need arises. Secondly, I would like to establish a direct point of contact between the members and the management committee. As the management committee, our goal is to take care of the members' needs and welfare. To do so, our members need to be heard. Currently, there's only an email that students can reach out to. That is why I would like to propose setting up a hotline or Telegram handle that students may contact directly for any urgent matters. This way, any urgent requests can be addressed as soon as possible. And finally, I aim to foster a positive community culture in the club. To do so, I aim to build on what the 22nd MC has done well and further recognize members' contribution and participation in the club. In addition, I would like to organize even more events which can give members more opportunities to interact and forge friendships. Possible events can be a SOC picnic or SOC sports day where members can compete with one another within the faculty. So to summarize, I aim to run for vice president as I believe that my experiences have equipped me with the relevant skills and knowledge required. Thank you for listening, and if you like what you've heard, do remember to vote for me. With your help and trust, I will dedicate myself towards taking care of your well-being. Let's work together and make this year an enjoyable one. Thank you.
Thank you, Yogi, for your presentation. We'll now have a 15-minute Q&A. Yogi, if you could just help me restart your timer. Yep. We have one question from Samuel. Samuel, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, Yokui. I'm Samuel, Year 2 CG. Thank you for your presentation. So I wanted to ask about the live feedback hotline that you're looking to propose, right? So it's either gonna be like a Telegram handle or like even like maybe a live call, if I recall, right? So like I wanted to ask about the like twofold, so sustainability. So like how you have a plan for making it sustainable, right? And then lastly, like why do you think there needs to be a live, like in the now, a student version instead of like reaching out to like the like the faculty side of communication?
Okay, so to answer your first question, the sustainability portion, we need to emphasize to students that this hotline is purely for really urgent matters, like maybe they're lost in SOC, or they left, they spot missing item in SOCs, or they lost a large amount of money in SOC. Then they can contact the club, and maybe you can send out like a Telegram blast in the channel that SOC has, the competing club has. Sustainability wise, I think if the management committee comes together and works together, we'll be able to maintain this Telegram handle or even the hotline. So from what I've heard, the computing club usually has one person in the room at all times. So if there can be a phone there, then students can contact that number and can call computing club anytime. Also, for the second part of the question, it was sorry, you mentioned
why students and like instead of faculty? So why do they reach out directly to students first, like for the hotline, the emergency issues instead of faculty?
Right. Okay. Sometimes students, like, we have our social media, and like we can, like, if it's something that they need us to like share for them, like a missing item, for example, then like we would be able to like share it on Instagram story, say, hey, do you find like this person, do you see this person's thing, or yeah, like, so as compared to reaching out to the faculty office, I don't think they will be able to help with that as effectively as us. And so maybe as students, we can also empathize with each other more effectively, and we'll be able to understand each other's problems rather than just the administrative stuff at the faculty. Yeah.
Okay.
Does that answer your question? Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you, Yokui.
Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Okay, thank you, Samuel, for the question. Next, we have a question from Sydney. Sydney, you want to introduce yourself? Your name, year, and major?
Hi, I'm Sydney, year 2 CS. Could you help me go back to the slide on how you want to work with people? Like one with members. Yeah, this one. The established, yeah, this one, the hotline one also.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is for students in general, and you want to like allow it for urgent matters only. So what if they have other like problems that, or what if they have ideas that they want to come to you about? Then like how do you think they can go about doing that?
Oh, okay. So there's the email for that, right? The computing club email. If they have any ideas or simple queries, there's an email for that on the computing club website.
Yeah. So like, how would you make yourself more approachable to like the student population so that they will feel more that you're more open to what they want to hear and to know that the club is hearing what they have to say.
Okay. Thank you for your question. So in my opinion, to make myself more approachable, I mean, it's just a point of contact that they can email to. There shouldn't be any like fear of like feedback. If in the students like maybe we can incentivize them by saying okay, if you come up with like an idea that eventually gets implemented, maybe we can give them some kind of prize like Grab vouchers, simple stuff like that. Yeah, and we should definitely emphasize that negative feedback is welcome as well. So students won't be worried about like, oh, they won't be getting any more welfare from competing club if they give negative feedback. Yeah, so I think that's what we need to emphasize when we give out this ways to contact us, so students won't be afraid of like actually reaching out. And by students, I mean like just SOC students, just the members of the club. Does that answer your question actually?
Yeah, kind of. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Sydney, for the question. We'll be moving on to Sherman. Sherman, your question?
Yes, by the way, thank you for the speech. I just wanted to talk a little bit. I just want to clarify a bit about your idea of the call center. As someone who has some experience with how call centers operate, right? Sometimes these call center operators, especially if they're handling emergencies, sometimes they can get rather grievous requests. So some of them do handle quite serious matters like suicide attempts. So I'm not sure if you really want to implement something unless you have some kind of plan to engage like a professional. You might not want to put up a dedicated line to service very highly urgent requests. But your idea is still solid, in which you can open up a more open or more responsive channel to respond to certain requests. Maybe, for example, like what do you call it? Perhaps for any academic related questions, things that are they're not life threatening or not of a very high importance. And okay, as an aside, right, I kind of know because the ideas they aside from this, the ideas they propose are actually quite how would you say they're quite manpower demanding. I guess for lack of a better word. How can you describe yourself? How do you kind of deal with situations where sometimes people who are under you don't necessarily agree with you? Like how do you resolve conflicts basically?
Is this how do I resolve conflicts? Oh, sorry. Firstly, thank you for the question. So are you asking about how I resolve conflicts with students or within the committee?
Within committee. Within committee.
Or within the management committee.
Correct. Because you are holding quite a high position. You are
Okay.
running for a VP.
Right. Okay. So if there's a misunderstanding between like let's say different cells, student life or student development, what I can think of is the VPs should come together and discuss firstly, and they can like present their points, and if they still can't come to an agreement, then that is where we can bring in the president, and if the president is still not enough, then we can bring in student advisors in order to settle this dispute. But I believe that as members of the management committee, we will be able to come to understanding eventually. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Sherman?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherman, for the question. We'll now wait for any other follow-up questions for another 30 seconds. If there's no questions in this time frame, someone please propose to close the Q&A.
Yaban, year 1 com science. Motion to close the. Okay, I think it's a question.
Yep, there's a question. Sherman?
Yeah, sorry. Thanks for answering my question again. My second question: what is your vision for students? How do you what is your ideal vision of SOC given that let's take an example scenario that you're able to stay in position for next 3 years. What kind of SOC would you want to work towards?
Okay, so for my visions, I believe that mental health is something that is usually like overlooked. Like sure, we have the sports cell, we have the welfare cell. So for internal relations itself, sports cell, it just cares about the physical well-being. Yeah, and you can argue that physical well-being is important for mental well-being also. But there is nothing that the computing club offers to specifically target mental well-being. So if I'm to stay in this position for the next 3 years, I hope that I can leave behind a change and maybe bring about emphasis on mental well-being in students, because it is really stressful for university students, and I think they would appreciate this support from computing club as well. So this is something that I would want to leave behind if I were to continue being in the management committee for the next 3 years. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, and I'm glad you kind of going down that route, because I will not disclose the exact numbers, but there are incidences of suicide attempts on campus, not necessarily within SOC, but yeah, it is something that the UHC has, the University Healthcare Center, has also brought up as quite a recurring problem between different batches of students. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Young, could you pull up your yeah. Okay, we have some more time for questions. Again, if there's no other questions within the next 30 seconds, can someone propose to close the Q&A? Thank you. Can someone propose to close the Q&A?
Tricia, year 2 business analytics, propose to close Q&A.
We have a seconder.
Sherman, year 3 information systems, seconds motion.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we close the Q&A. Thank you, Yogi, for your presentation.
Thank you.
With that, we are going to move on with our last candidate, Xiaowen. Xiaowen, could you share your screen?
You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Can start when you're ready.
Okay. Hi everyone, I am Xiaowen. I'm a year 2 information systems student. And this is a picture of me getting to know SOC for the first time when I went for the freshman orientation camp. Yeah. The position that I'm running for is General Secretary, because I feel like this position is quite suitable for me with my past experiences and some of the other leadership roles that I've had in the past. So since we talk about that, so what are some of my past experiences? In secondary school, I was the CCA secretary. Mainly I handled the admin matters for the members in the CCA. My CCA was actually concert band, and it was considered quite a large CCA in secondary school. There were about 100 members, and my main role was to take record and take their attendance, and some other admin stuff. And then as an EXCO member, I also plan and organize activities for the CCA members, such as like camps. And we always have like EXCO meetings like every few weeks, and I was responsible to take minutes for these meetings so that we can look back and see what we have discussed. Next, I was the block com for my hall last year. So as the block com member, I handled admin and finance matters for the block. I also plan and organize bonding activities for our block members, and also prepare welfare for our block members. And lastly, I am the sports captain for basketball. This is actually my role this year. So yeah, people would think that as a sports captain, you'll be like leading trainings, but with COVID, the stuff that I'm doing is actually admin and finance matters for now. Yeah. So for the past few weeks, I've been handling admin matters like who is signing up for the trials, when they are gonna come for the training, especially because with the zoning, it is a little bit difficult to arrange everyone and make sure that everyone has a slot and a timing that they can turn up for. And also some finance matters like how many more balls to buy, yeah, for the slot. Yeah. So with these experiences, I think I've developed some relevant qualities to be the general secretary. Firstly, I think I'm quite organized. Starting from taking care, okay, in a way, I guess the basketball team is kind of like the smallest team that I have here right now. That's like about maybe 30 people that I'm taking care of. But also for the CCA, there was like 100 members, and for the hall, there were like 200 people. So like, I guess dealing with all these people, I have to be organized. I need to know what is happening where, and like not get lost myself while I'm handling them and their admin stuff. Yeah. And I think I have good time management. So although I have taken up different roles at different times, I'm still able to manage my time. And I'm actually quite a punctual person. I'm not really late. Especially when it comes to like handing in work or assignment. I don't think I've really been late. Yeah. And I don't really like wake up late also. So overall, I have quite good time management. And lastly, I think it's a little bit gross to say that I say myself that I'm a very caring person, but I think that is a very, very relevant quality for being the general secretary, because as a general secretary, you need to take care of the welfare of the committee. So for me, I think that I'm very caring, because with my experiences like in hall and stuff, it's like a culture in hall to welfare each other and always look out for each other, since like a lot of times in hall, our friends are all the people that we can rely on. We don't have like our family with us right there at hall. So I've learned to like reach out and care for those around me, and not just so to always check up on them and know that what's happening, how they're feeling, and make sure they're doing all right. Yeah. So what can I do for SOC? I think that I can contribute new and engaging ideas for SOC. This is so because of my experiences in hall. I think that being in hall also show me like a lot of fun activities that I think can bring over to SOC, and so that SOC students can also enjoy these activities that I found fun. And also I know that if I become the general secretary, I'll be working quite closely with the presidents and the VPs. So I think that I can also help them to brainstorm for ideas. Yeah. Also, I can take care of the overall administration of the club, because like in the past few years, I've always been dealing with admin stuff. I think that it's a nice challenge to to take care of like SOC. It's an even bigger student body, but I think that I'll be able to handle the overall administration. And then I know that as a general secretary, I'm supposed to ensure like a smooth day-to-day running of the club, which I think like also ties quite closely to the admin stuff, and also with like welfare. Yeah, so lastly is to like the ensure welfare of the committee. I think that our welfare of the students are very important, but of course welfare of the committee is also very, very important, because the committee is the MC is the people taking care of the students. So of course we need to take care of the MC so the MC can take care of the students. Yeah. Okay. My goal is very simple. My goal is just to bring fun and welfare to computing students. Having gone through my first year in computing, I really enjoyed myself. I think I had a great time in SOC. I just hope that all the computing students can continue to enjoy themselves in SOC, like including both seniors and juniors. Yeah. And how do I think this can be achieved? I think this can be achieved by firstly learning from the 22nd Management Committee. Right now we are still facing COVID. We have like zoning and stuff that affects how some activities work. And I think that the 22nd Management Committee are the ones who dealt with it firsthand. They were there when things first hit them, and they have got like really valuable lessons that they learn from their experience. So as the 23rd MC, we should learn from them and learn, like, listen to their advice also, since I think they know currently right now they will know more than us about how to deal with this situation. And also to bring new ideas into computing club. So other than the original things, activities that we can do, I think that we can also bring new ideas into the club, and then to make sure that we like change with the times also and update ourselves so that everything remains relevant for the students. Yeah, so with that, I've come to the end of my speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Xiaowen. We'll now have a 15-minute Q&A session. Could you reset your timer?
Okay.
All right, with that, we have one question from Sam. Sam, could you introduce yourself?
Hello, Xiaowen. I'm Sam, Year 2 Computer Engineering.
Hello.
So like, you'll be like the General Secretary, you're running for a General Secretary, right? And I think you mentioned something pretty amazing just now, like how you do not wake up late or you do not submit things late, right? That's pretty spectacular to hear that. But then like, realistically, right, you'll be working with people who are not of that caliber. Like, so there are people who will forget the deadlines, there are people who won't submit like documents on time, like stuff like that, right? So I even give you availability for meetings, like large meetings that you have to host, right, as the admin person, right? Yeah, so like I wanted to ask, how will you deal with people who are not on your same level in terms of like, you know, time management, organization? Like if they don't submit things and all that, what's your approach for tackling that?
Okay, thank you for the question. Firstly, I would like to clarify that the why I talk about my style of like not being late. Actually, I don't need everyone to be the same style as me, where they like do things earlier than the deadline, or like be extremely early when, or like wake up on time every day for their lessons. I think, yeah, for me it's just that being punctual myself ensures that the committee can be punctual, because I know that we have deadlines, and if I can't even be on time myself, how do I expect the others to be on time? And because of my sense of urgency, in a way that I prefer to be slightly early, I can start chasing for the things earlier. So that, I think, will help to keep on time, because I feel a lot of times like procrastination is where you do things last minute, but sometimes maybe a little push slightly earlier will help you to like, oh yeah, I need to do this, and start doing it a bit earlier. And I think also because in the past, as the secretary for my CCA, I was in charge of like chasing after like parents' letters and MCs. And it was it was always the toughest part of being the secretary in the CCA. But I think that personally it was still okay for me, because I would set mini deadlines for everyone, so that I check on them every once in a while to make sure that they are overall still on track, or like I will ask their section leaders to be like reminder to your section mate that you have something that you haven't submitted. Yeah. So I think with my punctuality, I can help to make sure that generally overall in the end we still get the things done on time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question.
Thanks, Sam, for the question. Next, we have Sunya. Sunya, can you introduce yourself?
Hello, Xiaowen. I'm Year 2 CS.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. So my question for you is like, you talk about that you can bring new idea to computing club in your presentation. Then I'm just wondering like why you choose the role of general secretary, like instead of like other more front facing ones that enable you to add on your ideas.
Okay, thank you for the question. The reason why I chose general secretary is because I feel like overall bring new ideas to computing is just one part of what I can do. Actually, for me personally, after being in computing for a year, I feel that I know some parts of a lot of things. So for example, I know how like orientation camps are like, and like normally when we give like welfare, like during exam periods, or like even for sports, because personally I took part in IFG, and I kind of know the previous sports exec. So I also know a little bit about that. So with like my combined knowledge of so many things together, I decided to go for general secretary. And I feel that because I feel that I can help in more than just that one way. I can help everyone if they ever need help. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Then, other than the role of general secretary, like, will you be interested in any other roles in computing club?
Actually, for me, if I have considered trying to be the sports director, since for me I really like sports, and I've like I said just now, I kind of know what the job scope for the sports director is also. So that's something else that I will consider. But of course, I would prefer general secretary over the sports director. That's what I'm running for. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senior, for that question. If there are any other questions, now would be a good time to ask. Yes, Chuntek.
Hello, Xiaowen. Thanks for
Hello.
the speech. As a general secretary, right, one of the key admin roles is to conduct meetings. So what do you think is a good meeting, and what are your expectations for the members who participate in a meeting?
Okay. Thank you for your question. I think that meetings are very important because meetings are what keeps us on track, and like when we can talk about what we are doing now and how everyone feels about what we are doing. I think my goal for a meeting will actually be so for every meeting we will definitely have like a reason why we're having the meeting and what we want to achieve at the end of the meeting. I hope that whatever that we set out to achieve before a meeting will be achieved by the end of the meeting. And I also hope that one point that I would like to bring is that during meetings, I hope that the MC will be, how do I phrase this? We will be more detailed during meetings, because I feel that a lot of times when we have meetings, we just give a general idea, but it doesn't go to how it's actually going to be executed. And the actual problem comes when the execution doesn't work out. So I feel that during meetings I will expect the MC to be detailed about what they are going to do, and if anyone has any doubt, I hope that they will voice up then and there and say how they feel about it. Yeah, so I also feel that like no matter what role you are in, no matter you are president or VP or you are like the sports director or whatever role that you are in the MC, just speak up if you have any problems, even or if you have any doubts, even if it's not something that you are in charge of, so that we can hear the concerns and address them during the meetings. And hopefully when we really carry out what we want to do, it'll be smoother.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chuntek, for that question. Are there any other questions currently?
Hi, I have a question.
Yes, Wylin, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Wylun. I'm year 4 computer science. So not really okay, I'm just gonna ask. So you said that you kind of enjoyed your first year in computing. So can you elaborate more about that? Like, what do you like about computing, and how you can bring it further? I think you kind of explained that. So maybe just the first point.
Okay, sure. So what I enjoyed about computing, actually I feel that a lot of parts that I enjoy about computing, actually it's across like many different faculties also, such as like exam welfare or like having orientation camps. But another part that I really enjoyed about computing was like, I think I enjoyed the orientation camp especially because I was actually able to make friends with like people in my batch and also the seniors. And I think that experience really like made me really like have a very good impression of computing since the start. And I hope that this can be spread out more to the student population. In a way, I've heard the lectures just now and how we talk about like foreign students and how they can be left out, or like sometimes seniors are like not as involved in SOC activities. Actually, I would like to say that I guess it's also because of my past experiences, but I believe a huge way to include people into our SOC and like this whole like idea of a bonded SOC is by like joing. Like we joe people to come for things. And as like in the management committee itself, we already have people that are year 1, year 2, year 3. And with everyone from different years, we can start from ourselves and start joining our friends to come along. And if the word spreads out this way, then so many more people will be willing to take part, because firstly it's people that they already know, and if like one person can join like 5, then if it keeps going out this way, then there'll be more people taking part in the activities to make SOC overall more bonded. And also like what Gu Geng mentioned just now about like foreign students, I think that Gu Geng himself is already a very good platform for us, because he's already in that WeChat group. Like he can be the one to broadcast it on the WeChat group and say, hey guys, come for the thing. And that is already information to the students that like something is happening, and we hope that they will come and join us. And like if Gu Geng can bring his friends over, and his friends will all come over, and maybe just for once they experience how these are like, and they step out of their comfort zones with their friends, then they will actually know like these activities are not as scary as they think, and it's actually more, it's really quite relatable and can make new friends and it's fun. Then it will just, yeah, so that is what I have in mind in that way, like to bring like the fun over to everyone. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wylun, for that question. Are there any other questions for Xiaowen? We'll wait another 30 seconds. If there's no other questions, someone can propose to close the Q&A.
Chun Teck Year 3 IS propose to close the Q&A.
Yaban Year 1 Com Science, second motion.
Okay, with that, we have come to the end of all the campaign speeches for all the candidates. I'd like to thank all the candidates for presenting over the past 2 days, as well as all the students that are here to witness the candidates. I hope the student body is more aware of these candidates' visions and objectives, and that our electorate can make an informed decision about at the elections, which will be happening on the 31st of August. That will be the elections day. Thank you everyone so much for coming. If you're an audience member, you guys can leave now. The 22nd MC, you all can leave also. The current candidates, please stay. Thank you. Trisha, you can stop recording already.
Okay.